Hello, art parents. All right, so here we are in April, and we have Lorenzo Ghiberti, who was a phenomenal artist and kind of one of those artists you just love to hear about. Like, they really contributed to art and art history in that he was interested in other artists too. And, you know, he was kind of that beginning of the Renaissance, really getting things going and laying the groundwork for art to change so much. So, really fun artist to talk about. He was born in Palazzo near Florence, Italy in 1378. And because it was so long ago, we don't have records that are detailed enough to know his birthday or month. And that's kind of something to bring up to the kids, I think, especially, or well, not especially, but also with the younger kids, that Ghiberti lived so long ago. I mean, think about it, they didn't have computers, they didn't even have typewriters, although a lot of kids don't know what those are. But there wasn't even electricity. If they wanted to work at night, they needed to use candles or torchlight to do it. So that is kind of interesting and cool. In with our pictures, we do have a self-portrait done on one of his doors. So you can see that there. It's kind of fun to show the kids. And I mean, how cool is this? Like, the three-dimensional aspect of his work is very impressive. I thought it would be good for the kids to be able to see the Baptistry of Florence so they could kind of get an idea. Maybe just mention to the kids that, you know, cathedrals in Europe, they were a really big deal back in this time. People believed that part of worshiping and showing their love for God was putting, you know, everything they had into creating these great and beautiful cathedrals. And that's why, you know, that's why they put in hours and hours and hours of work, hand chiseling, hand tooling, hand sculpting details like this. Here are the baptistry doors. These are the second doors, the gates of paradise. And these are, you know, Ghiberti's, they're kind of his masterpiece. Although the first set of doors he did also are amazing and beautiful. And I have individual panels for you to talk to the kids about from each door so they can kind of see. You can kind of say, I mean, look at this. This is amazing. These are like almost standing apart sculptural aspects. And then what I was talking about with the linear relief is that in the background, the details are, you know, they're just small and they're kind of much more two-dimensional feeling, and that gives you this feeling of depth in his work. So you can see, you know, the close-by arches have a lot more depth, and then those far-away arches are a lot more shallow, and that does give you that feeling of perspective. I also used a photo that isn't necessarily a super awesome photo because it's behind, you know, it's got the plexiglass that's protecting the panels, but it gives you a good kind of side view. So you can see, look at the little leaves hanging down from the trees and the detail of that foliage. And it's just impressive. The angels' wings kind of curling up over their heads, which are sticking out. It is beautiful work and all done by hand. Now, when we work with bronze, or when people work in bronze, what they do is they sculpt it, usually in clay, and then they create a mold from the sculpture, and then they cast the bronze into the mold, pour the molten bronze into the mold, and it hardens. And so that's the process used for Ghiberti's work. This is John the Baptist here. That's that statue that is larger than life. Just beautifully detailed. And maybe even tell the kids, you know, if they're fast finishers that want to come up and take a look and see the little details, because really it is the minute details that make his work just so impressive. Let's see, I can't remember if we did get the sacrifice of David or if I couldn't find a good one. Yeah, or I mean the sacrifice of Isaac. Hello. So this is the sacrifice of Isaac, the panel that Ghiberti did when he was in his 20s and submitted to win the contest to do the first set of baptistry doors for the Florence Baptistry. So you can kind of take a look at that. This is a fun motif. It's done a lot in art over the years. It's called a quatrefoil, and it's kind of representative of a flower, a four-petaled flower. And then here's another set of doors from from the actual doors that are done, or another panel, sorry, from the actual doors. One of the things that the teachers mentioned in their feedback was that sometimes they felt like we're a little bit stiff, or that you feel like you have to read the biographies to the class, and I definitely don't want you to feel that way. Feel free to, if you just read over the biography information a couple of times, and then just give it in your own words. It doesn't have to be super long, and you want time to do the project. If you do feel more comfortable reading it, of course, I don't want to make you uncomfortable and make you feel like you have to memorize it to get there. But just, keep that in mind. Keep it loose. Work with the kids. Don't get too stressed out about the details. And then also I included that simplified biography just so you could get an idea of what you tell the younger kids, because they don't need to know a ton of details, but of course you want to give them a little taste of what Ghiberti's life was and why he was such a cool guy. I mean, he did all this amazing work. These 2 sets of doors took 40 years of his career, and then 10 years in between he spent traveling around Europe and kind of learning and studying, which I think is very cool. You can never learn enough. Even if you're considered a master artisan, you can always learn, or a master artist, you can always learn more. But he took the time to learn, and he was really interested in other artists and kind of took an interest in other artists. His workshop was a place where people would gather and share ideas, and also share like that competitive spirit, which I think is great. It really kind of spurred the technology of the Renaissance along, which is so cool. I mean, so many famous artists came out of that workshop, kind of growing up and learning in that workshop. And then also Ghiberti wrote his commentary, which is a collection of 3 books that he talked about art and philosophy in, and then also had an autobiography, and it's our first surviving autobiography of an artist, which is kind of a cool, interesting fact. So Ghiberti died in 1455. He was 77, so he lived a good long life for a Renaissance age person, I guess. Okay, so for our project, the first thing you're going to have the kids do, and you'll want to just tell them, this is kind of a little bit tricky project, but it'll be really cool when it finishes. The first thing you want to do is kind of draw out your design. And I just have a Rima paper on the art cart. If you want to, if they're worried about, having it the right size, you could just lay your foil sheet down on the paper or show it to them and let them kind of just lightly, you can see how I just kind of traced around the edges a little bit so I knew how much space I had to work in. And then you'll want to give everybody a piece of cardboard that they can press on. This just it just has a little bit more give so that they can get a little bit better design. And then we just have these little orange sticks for them to use to press their design into the foil. And the easiest way to do that is by just laying your design out on top of your foil. And one thing you want to mention to them, if you're doing the older grades and you're going to flip the foil back and forth to get raised and depressed lines, then you're going to want to keep an eye on what you're doing. Make sure you line that foil back up, and you can kind of see it underneath, so it's not going to be too hard. With the younger grades, it might be easiest just to have them just do their design completely on one side and not get, don't get too fancy. But so what I'm going to do here is just press down, and if I want a whole raised area, I can press in that whole area. And they'll kind of see, you can see that it's working, and they'll want to check. They always do, and that's fine. Just tell them to make sure they get it lined back up when they go back around. And I'll just show you here. So we've got one petal on. And you can see that so if you keep it on this side, it's going to be indented. But if you turn it over, it's raised. So you can see how you can flip it over and have both indented and raised lines. I'll finish this one up and put it on the art cart for an example. You're welcome. I'd love it if we just maybe took one, did a few did one to show them. I'll leave this on there too. So maybe you do a little part and then leave it on the cart and we can just add to it. And then when it gets full enough, go ahead and just start a new one. Just so we're not using tons and tons of foil sheets. I do have extras of these. We have about 50 extra. But of course, you know, there are always kids that get stressed out and you want to let them have another try at it. If you can encourage them not to, you know, 50, it's only 10% of the school. We don't have enough for everybody to do it. So, you know, if you can, just say, hey, you're doing great. I think it looks okay. We can do this to fix it or whatever. And then after they're done, they'll just center it where they want it on their page. Take your pencil. Oh, sorry, all my stuff is piled up here. Well, we're going to pretend. Take your pencil and just make a little light mark, you know, at four sides. And then you can take this off, and you don't want to be pressing your glue stick onto the foil because it's going to kind of change your image. So then you can just take the glue stick, do it on the paper, set the foil on, and then carefully, you know, kind of carefully press the edges down. And then there you go. There's your foil relief to take home. It's kind of a fun and different project for the kids. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. I try and keep everything right there for you, but I really do appreciate it when you email me or call me and let me know that supplies are running low, or if you have any needs or anything, I'm close by. I'm happy to help. I hope you guys have a great month of April and a great time talking about a really impressive artist with the kids. Thanks so much.